So, in the last years, the concept of care has become nuclear in many different research areas, such as sociology, economy, politics, philosophy, or gender studies, among others. This change has been possible due to the efforts to rethink care in the traditional roles related to it. Nowadays, caring involves at the same time an attitude and a practice which allows a certain degree of speculation and at the same time a view deeply rooted in our everyday lives. During these last months, caring has raised as one of the main words in all discourses related to social behavior during the pandemic. Politicians, mass media, healthcare professionals, but also TV advertisements, and even big enterprises such as Amazon or Glovo use caring slogans, which at some point seems to me quite cynical because of his patterns of workers' exploitation, but that's what it is. Before sharing my thoughts and theoretical research about this topic, I would like to start with a brief example of a situation in which I was involved last Sunday, and it was perfect to the start of this talk. It was 7 p.m. I was walking across the center of Barcelona on my way home when I saw a man lying on the floor, as if he had fallen close to the zebra crossing. So there was no movement. People were passing by without even paying attention to him. So I came closer and checked if he was breathing. He had a lifeless gaze and didn't respond to painful stimuli. So while I was doing this, a young man approached me and asked me if he should call an ambulance. An old couple also stepped by and offered me some help. The man had moments of consciousness recovery, and it was obvious that he had drank alcohol. After having exchanged some incoherent words in German, English, and Russian, the ambulance came and took him to the hospital. Now let me share some reflections. First of all, a situation that would have been an immediate cause for alarm in any other context had a simple name: aporophobia. He was homeless. Second, even if there were proof of drug abuse, in this case alcohol, if a person is left unconscious on the floor at night in the middle of winter and he cannot move, there is a severe risk of hypothermia and thus death. Third, normalize that there are lives that count more than others should be aberrational in any society, but patterns of inequality shows us that it happens. And four, social distance and coronavirus have increased people's fears towards potential exposures. So, my claim is that the coronavirus pandemic is emphasizing all the weak spots of our socio-political structures, leading them to its limits, and it has put the spotlight and the emergency signal in a certain way of doing politics that systematically had given priority to certain aspects of life in expense of others. And that, despite the pessimistic approaches, can constitute an opportunity to rethink our socio-political dynamics. So, as privileged societies, we usually take life for granted, and we see any threat to end it as a mere accident that should not have happened and that we must destroy. That's what we try to rationalize it. But as an unpredictable virus, the responsibility to guide political actions have been delegated to epidemiological and scientific experts. This, as I see it, has two main causes. Firstly, that we use a biologistic scheme model of resource management regarding health and human life preservation. Secondly, that philosophers and other social science experts have taken, at least in this country, a reactive role when criticizing and evaluating the models already used in the policies implemented to face coronavirus. But it lacks an active role leading the discourse, as Dr. Van Lack explained yesterday. So a role that has been mediatized by scientists and doctors. But we cannot think about health only in a dichotomy life-death. We must confront the scientific discourse with other research areas because health must be understood, lato sensu, influenced by a mix of social determinants, personal, economical, and ambiental factors as well, that determine people's health and that are the result of money distribution, power, and resources that and depend on public policies. Thus, it is political. The hidden question that we confront these days is, which kind of life do we want to live? Is it survivance enough? What happens if the economic system breaks down? What is the price of isolation to mental health? Can we live with severe freedom restrictions? For how long can we give up on social forms of life without consequences? Is it fair that citizens be threatened with all forms of personal responsibility discourses? For how long will our healthcare professionals be holding intensive care practices without seeing an end? So, at the end, what moral statements lay beyond all these measures? We should go to the very definition of life. That leads me to the second part of the analysis, the ethics of care, as a well, I said a philosophical school of thought, but in fact there are many different lines of research, promotes an alternative socio-political approach to the modern theories in which autonomy and competitivity define human beings. According to this ethic, we should establish a new relational social model linked to vulnerability. Life is based on the acknowledgement of a link and an interdependency between individuals, and the fact that each of us will need to be taken care of and will have to take care of others. From this perspective, care ethics can be highly useful to a critical analysis of the responsibility distributions of caring, to detect patterns of inequity related to gender, ethnicity, or economical resources, and to rethink our models to increase intersectoral collaboration. I will use the definition of care given by John Tronton Berenice Fisher in 1991, that it says, in a very general level, we suggest that caring be viewed as a species activity that includes everything that we do to maintain, continue, and repair our world so that we can live in it as well as possible. That world includes our bodies, ourselves, and our environment, all of which we seek to interweave in a complex life-sustaining web. So it would involves all forms of lives. Yesterday, Dr. Marcus defined life as everything that is object of the evolutionary science, and I will not go into the topic of what is or what is not life, but I wanted to stress how it seems that regarding human beings, values related to life are to be questioned and redefined. According to some approaches to the ethics of care, our pre-pandemic societies were based on modern democracy states with an everyday more degenerated welfare states. As some have pointed out, the neoliberal perspective emphasizes a model of an autonomous free subject, rational and independent. This model lies upon a life hierarchy based on unequal relations of power and privileges regarding care that involve gender, race, and social class biases. For researchers such as Toronto, there are forms to take care to sustain life, meaning that what we talk about care at the last term, we talk about how to sustain life. There are some ways more democratic than others. So a democracy committed to care should have at its foundations the distribution of responsibilities to make sure that the relation generated and the people involved in caring acts are part of the political discourse. No one should be excluded from the system. It's a traditional three main pillars of care, where family, market, and the state, and we could also add civil society. We have seen during the last decades how every now and then the market has taken a more active role in providing caring services, which means that many aspects of human life are analyzed through its market value, productivity, and benefits. The problem of a privatization logic of essential sectors sustaining life is that social rights conflict with economical rights. At the same time, policies based on personal responsibility can make us think that social fundamental rights are, in fact, individual rights, and by doing so, they deactivate the critical and political potential of social fights. Moreover, it gives the state the opportunity to elude its own responsibility. So, John Toronto suggests a model of five phases or dimensions of care in society that can be analyzed to detect and remodel public policies and institutions in collaboration with social agents. She puts it in a theoretical way, so it has to be proven in real societies, which is what I'm trying to do with mine. I should refer you to Caring Democracies from 2013 for these five levels if you want to know more. But what I'm really interested in is the last one, called Caring With, which intends to be the center of a new social model. And it's been proved that when social distance is not at the height, there is a bigger implication in caring acts, meaning there is a proportional relation between social distance and individualism. So caring with is defined as a form of solidarity and confidence in which, quotation, we will trust one another and in our social and political institutions and feel solidarity with other citizens, seeing them as partners in our own caregiving and receiving. That includes a solid social web in which both governmental and non-governmental institutions plus civil society can cooperate to perform new public policies with more interdisciplinarity. All in all, it seems to me, and I come back to the main point of the COVID reality, that our almost collapsed by a virus democracies could certainly benefit from the philosophical approach. I claim that philosophy can contribute to the pandemic crisis not only by analyzing other expert decisions, but creating alternative models in collaboration with other disciplines. Nevertheless, even if it cannot be questioned that coronavirus has changed many of our daily routines, I would not claim that it constitutes a new reality completely different from the one we had before. But it would be more just a dramatic, accelerated view of where we could end at some point if we continue with the same ethic political guides. Thank you.